Alright, so this Friday and Thursday while I was at school, Pops made me this full exhaust system for the street, so it quieted it down a little bit, however you say that. At the end of the video, we'll start it up. Alright, we got our park lights, and then we got our lights, and then we got our brights. And then we got our running tail lights, and we got brake lights, and then we got our reverse lights. Now that Cal's done explaining what they did to Gassed Out while we were away for a couple episodes, we took the seat out of here. It's gutted. We've got my Woodward Fab tubing bender over here that they were kind enough to hook me up with. So we're going to actually put that thing to use today. We got some chrome ollie 1 5/8 tubing. We're going to make a center hoop and harness bar for this so that we can get Cal safely out on the road with a nice set of harnesses. Alright, like I said, we're going to get this video kicked off using this Woodward Fab tubing bender. This has got the 1 5/8 die in it right now. Something I recommend when you're tube bending is whatever material you're using, cut a little piece and make a few template bends so you know where the bender is starting and how much tube it uses by the end of the bend. It makes things a lot easier when you're going off of a template like we are. For the 56, my dad just got a pre-bent kit for our buddy Mike's 56 Gasser. It's up on the hoist behind me here. So he was able to draw the template out, and we're just going to mimic it and put it in this 56. Being that we did have a template, we kind of knew how much material we'd need to make this center hoop. First step, you always want to find center of it. We've already got center marked here on it. The next step we're going to do is lay this on the flat surface. This part of the garage is not flat. You can see it's sliding around. We're going to run a line all the way down it and make sure it's straight all the way across. That just makes it easier to center it up in the tubing bender. Just a little trick I've learned over the years of tubing bending. This is our super high-tech line that we're going to draw. We got a big old fat Sharpie on here. And we got Caleb down there. He's holding it so it doesn't spin. I'm just going to lay this flat on the ground, and we'll just drag a line all the way out. Now let's roll this thing over and see if it actually did exactly what I want it to. Boom, perfect. Got a line, just ready to go. Right here we've got the template that my dad traced off the other roll cage. So he found center line here. That'll make it easy because we can take our template bend out of the bender. I'll bring it over here and show you in a second and find out exactly where we need to start our bend off the center line. This is our little template bend. We did a 90 on the bender, and then my dad actually went around and grooved this so that we don't lose our mark of where the bend starts. So even though it's a 90, we can still find out where the bend starts, and we're able to lay it on here and get a general idea of where we can start with our bend. So it'll be right about here. We can mark this and then measure our distance, and then we'll mark it out on the pipe. We'll get it in the bender and start bending it. All right, we've got our template bend setting on here. The start of the bend kind of lined up with the paper template here. And we've got our mark. So we're gonna go ahead and put our mark here. Well, our Sharpie sucks, so that's where our bend is going to start from our center line. We'll run that out, and we're looking at 18¼ inches away from our center line to start our side bends on the hoop. I went to just double check the work before I wrote it on the tube we're using. We were off a little bit. This wasn't the center line. My dad had wrote some information on there. This is the height of the distance from the top of the cage to the roof of the car, and then what the bottom line is to the floor of the car. So we went ahead and found the center of this, marked the center line, remarked our bends, and we found out it's actually 17 inches instead of 18¼ inches. So now we'll take those measurements over here to the tubing we're going to use and mark it out. So we've got our center line, and 17 inches out is where we'll start the bend on that side, and then we'll flip the tape real quick. So you want to hold that end down there. All right. I'll mark it right here. 17 away from that side of the center line. Now we can take this over to the tubing bender and start the best part of the process, actually using the tubing bender. So we went ahead and we put the our line. It's hard to see because everything's underneath here, but we put our line right on where the die starts, the curved die, and that's how we marked it with our template bend, so we know that it's going to bend exactly where we need it to now. Just because the only thing we can really use is a long straight edge and a little manual angle finder here, we went ahead and started with a 75-degree bend. This bender, another thing that you have to do to get familiar with your bender is see how much kickback it has. So when you're putting this much tension on it, you got to put a little bit more on it so that when you relieve the tension of the bender, it kicks back a little bit. So this bender has about 2 to 3 degrees kickback depending on the material you're using. So we're going to start on the low end of it, and we went to 77 degrees instead of exactly 75. So when we let off and this thing has its pressure off of it, it should kick back to about 75 degrees. Alright, we have got the roll cage hoop bent up and cut to length. So Dad and Cal, they spent some time getting some hardware and plates mounted to the floor and the outriggers that we welded onto the frame. I'll show you how all that stuff ties in a minute. But this first bend here, we did an 80-degree bend, and then we did a kick bend here at 20 degrees. So that's going to get us right on the center line of our foot plates here, and it's going to follow the body line of the car and fit in there nice and tight. And before we go, like we said at the beginning of the video, Dad and Cal got the exhaust system done up on this during the week, and a bunch of the wiring and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and fire it up and let you hear what it sounds like through the exhaust. It dumps out right here before the rear wheel. Go ahead and fire it up. You can see the roll cage is in here now. We just had to tack it with the MIG welder. We planned on having this fully TIG welded and the seat bolted back in here so we could maybe like go drive it around or something. But we're not gonna put the seat back in because we didn't have enough welding gas for the TIG welder. So Dad's gonna get that this week. This is the 99th episode, which is pretty sweet. Next week will be the 100th. If you don't follow my Instagram page, go check that out. I was gonna do a giveaway at, I think it was 95,000 followers. I'm at like 92.7. So it was close, but I think for the 100th episode, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the giveaway because no one's actually participating in it like I thought they would. But you can win a hat, shirt, and some stickers. So make sure you go check out the Instagram. It's just Loud and Ugly. You'll find that on there. But yeah, we're excited to get the roll cage in here. The tubing bender worked great. It's 1 5/8 roll cage tubing that we did. And then like I told you before, we tied into the outriggers that we originally welded onto this frame when we built the chassis. So everything kind of worked out good, and we're excited to see where this car takes us.